Hello everybody and welcome back for some weekly VR news. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Overall, it's a solid week for new VR gamers, with massive sales going on for the PlayStation VR 2. There's a wide array of new games dropping this week. And finally, it looks like Meta is producing 2 new versions of their AR glasses. Now there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but let's just start this video off like normal with the check-in, because I had one hell of a weekend at PAX East. So I actually took my entire camera crew to PAX East this year, and we had one hell of a time. I played Heroes Together with my daughter, a lot of fun with that. I jumped into Star Trek Infection, which I'll talk about later, and I even live streamed through the Land Fest charity event over at PAX East, which was a lot of fun. I plan to keep doing that every year, but you know, this year is a little rushed, a little crazy, so we'll do it better and better every year. If you're at PAX East, we'd love to meet you. I can even do like interviews if we're doing the live stream again. A lot of cool stuff. Also met the Rough Talk guys and jumped into Wrath and a Ruin, but that's still embargoed. Can't talk about that just yet. But that is my quick little update. Great weekend. And obviously there's a lot more to talk about, but let's just move into this week's new releases. And first up, we have the previously mentioned Star Trek Infection. This is a story-driven experience set in the Star Trek universe that takes place between the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine series. You'll take on the role of a Vulcan who's stuck on a vessel that's been mysteriously engulfed in some type of infection. Now, as a Trekkie, this sounds like a really good setup for a great storyline. However, some people are like, oh, the whole zombie thing is so cliche. I've even said that. You know, you have so much lore in the Star Trek world, and if you wanted to go zombie-esque, why don't you just go Borg? I'm with you on that. However, I will hold my expectations until I play through the whole thing and see if it's a good storyline, because I'm convinced the story will make or break this game. It's not going to be like a stunningly graphics looker. It's designed for the quest. It, for some people, will be what they call a walking experience, like your Red Matter 2 or other games where you wander around puzzles and maybe fight a few guys here and there. It's that type of experience. Now, why I can't comment too much on my PAX East gameplay is because I couldn't hear anything. Those conventions are so loud. It's the same experience as when I played Metro Awakening at Gamescom. You're like, oh, it's creepy, right? You hear that? And I'm like, no, I can't absorb the environment. It's too loud here. So I'm gonna jump into it as soon as possible. I'm just getting access right now. And if you guys want full coverage on this, let me know. It's just not going to be on release day. So let me know in the comments right now. And Heroes Together reminded me of like a lighter Dungeons of Eternity, a little bit more kid friendly. So I think I could get into that with my kid. I think that'll be a fun game. I think some people really enjoy that. But again, not enough of an experience to really know what I'm in for. Well, let's just keep this video moving along with the rest of the new releases. And next up is the psychological horror Backrooms inspired title Subliminal. Now, making matters even worse, rather than being stuck in some bland office space, you're wandering around a surreal, abandoned kids' funhouse. Now, those places already scare me because I feel like I'm gonna break a hip. And then on top of that, you're gonna add all these eerie sound effects, lighting, and even some creatures to chase you down. Yeah, I don't think these horror games are right for me. However, if you enjoyed something like Pools VR or those backroom experiences, you'll most likely enjoy this game. But I do have one little caveat here, and that's the fact that I'm not 100% sure this is releasing in VR. Steam has this tagged as a VR game, but it looks like that could possibly be an error. But if it's not, please let me know down in the comments if you guys would like to see me live stream this or any other VR horror game. And last up, we have another story-driven experience, but Space Control goes in the opposite direction, focusing on job simulator-like mechanics and a comedy-filled storyline. It's almost like being in an episode of Futurama and being able to physically interact with the world and its characters. Now, there's a demo available if you want to give it a try, but I'm pretty sure impressions will be mixed on this one, ranging from this is cringy to it's absolutely hilarious. Now, before we get into the bigger topics, we just have some quick game updates. And first up, the full release of the cute little photography title Birdseed VR has been delayed till the end of April on the Meta Quest, and there's no official release date, for Steamvr just yet. Now, I've never jumped into this title because it's just not for me. However, if you did try this game and think it's worth checking out, please let me know down in the comments. Now, next up, the survival title Medieval Dynasty is also getting some kick-ass updates. They've added Meta's new frame sync for smoother performance, and the game's also getting a price drop down to $13.99, which is absolutely insane. I'm personally not a huge survival fan guy, but this game roped me in, felt truly rewarding, and I enjoyed the storyline that they put together. Now, over time, they also gave us a series of major updates, including new custom gameplay modes and co-op. So if you have any interest in VR survival games, I highly recommend you pick up Medieval Dynasty at that new insane price tag. And speaking of absolutely insane price tags, Sony's spring sale is going on right now, and you better not miss these sales. First up, one of my absolute favorite hidden gems, Ghost Signal, a Stellaris game, is currently $1.99. At that price tag, I recommend it to absolutely everyone, and I don't care if you like the genre, don't like the graphics, I don't care. I just don't care. The game is so good that no one should pass it up for only $2. And the same goes for the first-person shooter, Vertigo 2. This game is basically Half-Life meets Rick and Morty, and it's pretty much as close to AAA as a VR indie title can ever get. But if those games weren't for you, there's plenty of other titles on sale, and if you're a PSVR 2 gamer, please don't miss this opportunity. And last up in today's news, it looks like Meta is preparing 2 new pairs of Ray-Ban glasses. Now, that's not exactly what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the direction Meta is going rather than these upcoming glasses. Personally, I love the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, never thought I'd like them, picked up a pair, fell in love, and I now have the 2nd generation, and I'm most likely gonna get the displays, not the 1st generation, most likely the 2nd generation. I think they're a little bit too early. However, this is the direction that Meta was always aiming for. I've talked about this so many times over the years, that they were willing to use all the questers as beta testers to figure out the hardware, to improve the hardware, to eventually get to a mainstream device. And it looks like that plan makes sense because that's the hardware that makes them a lot of money. That's the hardware that does fairly well. That's what boosted their sales. We know they're burning money like crazy, and they've recently pulled back from VR a bit more, especially Horizon Worlds. Good move. But is Meta just going to go straight all into these wearables and completely give up on VR? Or are they going to split and kind of figure out what they screwed up in VR and get that market, community, and ecosystem back to where it needs to be? That's the concern. And right now, I hear both internally. Like, if they saw a direct path to making tons of money with wearables and making the next computing platform or the next iPhone-like device, they would go that direction in a heartbeat. But I also hear internally they're restructuring to make the Quest more like a console, to make it more user-friendly, to make it have better products, exclusives, a reason to buy it. But at the same time, they can't keep burning $100 million on a game like Batman Arkham Shadow. So where are we going? And no one really knows. And you throw on the economic circumstance, the RAM shortage, everything going on, we're really in this crazy state that's been making me uncomfortable. So my future videos are going to be talking about a lot of these topics. We're going to get in deep, guys. We're going to talk about where everything's going in terms of game development, in terms of hardware development, in terms of the overall future, when we might see the Steam Frame impact, Project Swan. There's a lot of things talking about. There are a lot of things to talk about, guys, but I'm honestly in this uncomfortable state lately. I know VR goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And certain things have been amazing, but other things are really low. I think combined with the slow season of VR we're in right now, with the economic situations and the RAM shortage and the AI nonsense, it's making us feel even lower than we are. But VR is still alive and kicking. It's not going anywhere. I almost think, though, it might have launched 10 years too early. Or we needed these 10 years of growing pains to get to where we got to go. I'm not even sure anymore. So we're going to approach this in future videos. So drop your comments, your questions, the things you want to hear. And if you enjoyed this, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, consider subscribing. And as always, I'll see you guys on next time.